Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the late September sky, but for a change, we are going to look at the sky from a lower latitude. So of course, here in Ireland, we're pretty far north in the northern hemisphere. We're pretty high up on the planet, so the sky looks different. It's difficult to see the bottom part of Sagittarius. It's difficult to see much of Scorpius. We don't get to see the tail of the scorpion. We're missing Mars at the moment, even though it is a reasonable distance out from the sun. So we're going to take a look at the sky from a little closer to the equator. We won't go all the way to the equator just yet. We'll just come down to about here. So you probably noticed immediately that the sky got a little bit darker. We're not seeing as much of the sunset glow, and there's Mars. So if you are a bit closer to the equator, we can see here 37, so about 15-20 degrees closer to the equator. It's going to make a big difference to what you see in the sky. We're still looking at the same sky and we can see many of the same things. There's Saturn, there's the summer triangle, but one thing that I definitely notice is that a lot more of Scorpius is visible. We can see the tail of the scorpion. We can also see more of Sagittarius, though here with all of the sunlight in the sky it's not quite visible. We've got Mars definitely visible above the horizon as well. We'll push back a little bit. Sagittarius should have more visible stars. If we get rid of the atmosphere for a second, we'll see some of the other stars that are in Sagittarius. But because of the extinction of the atmosphere, they're not very visible, but they are also faint stars. They would be more visible in the countryside. We still have our summer triangle up nice and high. We're looking at the date of the equinox. We're here on the 21st. This is also the date of the partial solar eclipse. It's going to be happening visible in New Zealand. So we won't go over that again. I've gone over it previously on this channel, but that is one of the events that's happening. We can see here, coming up to the morning time, all of the constellation Canis Major is visible, not just Sirius. We've got a lot more above the horizon there. Venus is also visible further from the horizon. And if we come all the way up to sunrise, we should see the sun. Yeah, it's a little difficult to make out, but the sun rising directly in the east. I suppose we're forward to the 22nd now, so it won't be directly in the east. We'll come back a day. There we go. So even if you are closer to the equator, even if you are further down the planet, oh, maybe the 22nd is closer to the equinox, the true equinox this year, but we can see the sun is rising pretty much straight out of the east. Of course, that means it'll set pretty much straight down in the west as well. So we'll turn around over here. We'll bring the sun back up for sunset. Of course, we don't get to see the sun as it's touching the horizon. We have some mountains and things in the way here, but we can see the sun is pretty much setting in due west here on the 21st. Of course, the date of the equinox does vary a little bit due to leap years, so the date varies, but of course it doesn't really change when these things are happening. There is the moon very close to being in front of the sun. Of course, there will be, for us now, there was, referencing the time in Stellarium, a solar eclipse from down in New Zealand happening, of course not visible from here in Ireland. So we're going to move a little bit more. We're going to go closer to the equator. We won't go all the way to the equator just yet, just down to about here. So that puts us, 21 degrees north. We'll go a little bit further, 19 degrees north. So we're still definitely off of the equator, but we are closer to it. So it's again going to have a subtle enough effect, but an effect on what we see in the sky. So we can see Mars there visible in greater darkness because the sun is almost going straight under the horizon. It's not yet, we're not at the equator, there is still a little bit of a curve there, but we can see Mars is higher from the horizon and visible when the sky is truly dark. We can definitely see that Scorpius and Sagittarius, they're both quite high in the sky. They're quite off the horizon. They'd be much easier to see if you have buildings or trees in the way. And we can see the summer triangle there is practically at the zenith. We'll turn around because, we are hitting a place where the plough or the Big Dipper isn't up for the entire night. So down here at 19 degrees north, we can see the North Star still above the North Pole, but the plough there is completely under the horizon. We still have Cassiopeia up on the other side to help, but if you're looking for the plough at certain times of the night on certain dates, even in the northern hemisphere, if you're too close to the equator, you won't be able to see it. It will dip below the horizon. It stops being circumpolar. So we can see here, it's almost visible how much straighter up in the sky things are going. Even though we're not quite at the equator just yet, we can see how high up Canis Major is there, and Venus visible in true darkness for quite a while. It takes a while before the sun's glow is bright enough to wipe out Venus. And if we go back just a little bit, you can see it looks like Venus and Jupiter are going straight up into the sky. Now, we're at the equinox at the moment. So we're pretty much at the time where the sun is shining straight at the equator for both sides of the planet. We're moving out of summer and winter on both sides of the planet. So that means when we're at the equator, the ecliptic should be pretty much rising straight overhead. We're a little south of the equator here, but not by too much. And we can see there's a little bit of a tilt back the other way. We are after going south of the equator now, so of course we would expect there to be a little, but there's a little bit more of a deviation. Where exactly we see the ecliptic in the sky, it does vary. The tilt of the Earth is the reason, but where exactly we're going to see it will change with the time of the year. So even though we are at the equinox, it doesn't look like the planets are rising directly out of the east or directly out of the west. It still looks like there's a little bit of a tilt going on. And of course, the planets don't directly line up with the ecliptic either. There is a little bit of variation in the planets and how close they are to the ecliptic. So we can see Mars is definitely significantly above the horizon. We can see that Sagittarius and Scorpius are significantly above the horizon, and the summer triangle is practically in the northern sky. Looking down here, if we come back a little bit, should be able to get parts of the plough above the horizon for part of the night, but maybe not. Maybe it is too low in the sky. The North Star is pretty much under the horizon, so as we often do to take a look at things, we'll get rid of the ground here. Of course, there's going to be a lot of atmospheric extinction, but yeah, there's the plough pointing up to the North Star would be roughly there. We'll get rid of the atmosphere as well, and there it is. There's the North Star, pretty much dead on the horizon. It's a little under the horizon because we are a little further south than the equator. But while we're here at the equator, we are going to move out into the countryside because so much more of the core of the Milky Way is going to be visible because we have more of those constellations showing us where the core of the Milky Way is. So we will get rid of all of the light pollution. And there we go. We can see a lot more of the core of the Milky Way. We don't see as much of the outer arms because we're nice and close to the equator, so we can see the Milky Way almost going straight up in the sky. There comes the sun blocking it out again, but we're seeing the whole core of the Milky Way here. We can see it's starting to tail away on the other side. That'll increase as we keep moving south of the equator, which we are going to do. We're going to move further south of the equator. We're going to go further down to around here. So 12 degrees south, it's not very far south, we'll go a little bit further, 17 degrees, there we go. So we're going to start seeing a little bit more of the glow of the sun at sunset because the tilt is coming back. We're still seeing Mars very, very clearly. And also getting seen much more clearly, we've got that glow of the Milky Way. So we can see the whole core for sure here. There's definitely the whole core of the Milky Way visible there, and we can see it tailing away on either side. There's the summer triangle now, very much part of the northern sky. And if we pull back a little, we can see here looking north that we've got the planets kind of curving northward. That's because they're following the ecliptic, and we're now down on the southern hemisphere sort of looking up at the ecliptic. We can see that Saturn there is almost at the zenith, really in the middle of the sky once we reach the middle of the night. So if you are down at 17 degrees south, Saturn is going to look particularly good around its opposition because it's going to be right in the middle of the sky. So you'll be viewing it through the least amount of atmospheres as well. And Neptune is right there as well. Neptune coming to opposition on the 23rd. Coming up to morning time, we're seeing a lot of that outer edge of the Milky Way there now that we're through to the morning. We're seeing Jupiter rise and then Venus, both kind of curving off towards the north. The same way from up here in the north, we see them curving towards the south. And that's because of our perspective on the ecliptic. So we've been looking at the September sky for quite a while because there are so many interesting things. I hope you enjoyed this different view on it. Maybe you're always seeing a different view when you watch this channel because you're not at 52 degrees north. Maybe you got to see the sky a little bit closer to how it's going to look for you in this video. Whether you did or didn't, I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, then please do like it. If you like this kind of content, then please do subscribe to this channel. And if you'd like to read some of this information, you can head to my website, queevinscontent.ie, where I'll have this written down. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.